Hello everybody, welcome to my Biz Life Wisdom and my great unveil for some changes in our Facebook group going forward. Now, first of all, apologies, I did get a little bit waylaid. I said I was going to start at 8 o'clock and it's now about 10 or so minutes later. And I thought I have to be able to celebrate and namaste to all of you. Thank you so much for your energy in the time that you've been in the group, whether that's just the other day or whether it's right from the very beginning. I appreciate you all so much and want to be able to express that with, of course, a milestone like 200 members. Now, compared with other groups, that mightn't be a lot, but it's a fair number of people, and I have just so much enjoyed. Since I've started it, being an admin for it. Hello, thanks for joining, and Susan, lovely to see you, and just wanted to say thank you. As I said, love your energy, and I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about what I'm going to be doing with the with the group going forward. So starting next Monday, over the weekend, I'm going to change the name of the group. So the group, since it started, which has been over 6 months now, maybe more towards 8 months or so, it has been called Creative Spiritual Biz Life Success. And the reason that I chose that name was because I definitely wanted to have the creative spiritual aspects, because that's what's important to me. It's what aligns in me to be able to share with group members and also the world more broadly. And the idea of there being success for us as women in business, in both our businesses and in our personal lives. So hence the Biz Life Success. And that was great. I think after a while it's good to actually change things up. Change is as good as a holiday, as they say. And I also thought increasingly for the last few months I've been feeling that, and I felt called, I'm losing my feathers here. I felt called to change the name to match more specifically to my niche, which is productivity. Having said that, productivity in my definition is really much broader than maybe you might be thinking of in terms of a to-do list or prioritization, that sort of thing. To me, productivity is the basis for, or certainly one of the main bases or foundations of success for us in our lives generally and in our businesses. So I wanted to, that is my expertise, particularly doing productivity, inverted commas, using a creative spiritual approach. And the reason that I chose to focus on that, I started actually in my business about 3 or so years ago. Hello, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining me. Celebrating 200 members. I think we're 201, which is really exciting. And some changes coming up in the group in the next week. So I started off as a productivity coach specifically and went down the route that a lot of coaches and that will do, and that is the traditional method. So working with a to-do list and talking about time management and very much practical aspects, which are really important. And I still do focus on those. Yes, I saw. Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. But what I found over time was that I felt this calling, I would say spiritual alignment for me I was drawn to actually wanting to bring in creative and spiritual approaches to productivity, which meant that being a creative and spiritual person that I was, that it would actually make it more fun and align with that way of working that I had, rather than just the very often very dry, very left brain way of thinking. So as you probably have gathered in posts that I've made in the group and Facebook Lives and that sort of thing, incorporate things like meditation. To me, it's absolutely key to productivity. a lot of self-inquiry from the point of view of going within to listen to our intuition, to have things feel in our bodies, because the feeling, to me, the emotions, relationships, are just as important as what we're actually doing in terms of our productivity. And not everybody, or as in productivity specialists, necessarily consider those things. I'm loving this, Helen. When do we get started? Oh, well, yes, thank you, Elizabeth. So that leads me then to say that to unveil the name of the group, the new name will be Creative Spiritual Productivity Rebels. And thank you, Elizabeth. You had some input into that, and also Lakshmi did as well. And I'd like to say that it was something that was aligned in me, of course, as well. And so the creative spiritual aspect, we're keeping... to me, that's just, I can't imagine me doing business without a focus on that. It's become such an important part of my life. It actually was always within me. But as part of my development, my own growth and evolution, particularly in the last few years, even this year, to actually stand up now to be able to say, this is the productivity that I do. And I am wanting to own it. I do own it. I believe in it. I know that it works. It's not for everybody, and that's fine. That's not what it's not meant to be. It's a different way of doing it that I believe for me is far more fully aligned, more multidimensional, that takes into the fact that we work in different ways. And one way of doing something isn't always the best way or the only way. So I bring an alternative. And productivity rebels, because that idea of going against the norm in that respect. It doesn't mean I don't do the traditional, as I said before. I do. But to me, that's half the equation. The other half that's missing is what I bring in. Doing creative visualizations. If you want to do, Elizabeth, I'm thinking of you, tarot readings, different spiritual practices. I'm EFT practitioner as well as hypnotherapy and NLP. I'm definitely love using EFT with clients and with myself. There's so much I think that we can bring into productivity. As I said, more than just managing your time and not really talking about too much more than that, prioritizing and scheduling and how to manage your email inbox, and they're all important, and I do talk about those things, but I love to jazz it up a lot more and bring in this, as I said, this full dimension. Looking forward to it. I'll be home from holidays next week and back to it. So I'll be around. I'm just going to, so looking forward to it. Awesome. So I will have some new theme days. They will all be updated. There'll be new graphics in terms of the banner for the group and obviously the theme day posts. And what I want to do is have and offer more specifically productivity related activities within the group. So to me, productivity, I might have said this before, is tied in with, it's a foundation for us creating biz and life success. But as I said, productivity for me is more broad than traditional ways of thinking. And I very much talk about personal productivity as much as creating systems. I think the way that we manage ourselves, I've said this before, is so important. It's actually where the management of time happens. We manage ourselves in relation to time. We don't actually manage time. And it's around creating boundaries, being assertive, understanding what our needs are, and dealing with things like perfectionism. So it's also around self-growth, and that's of course that creative and spiritual aspects that come into it. So what I will be doing is asking for your input going forward, more in terms of the sorts of things around productivity that you would like to learn. The theme days will align with that, the whole theme of productivity. I actually, in the work that I do with clients, focus on 4 key areas. And they're what I call which isn't a very sexy name, but I call them the 4 Fs. So we start off with freedom, And I love the idea of starting off with it. And that incorporates things like setting our vision, working on our mindset, and aligning with our values. And then focus, which of course is integral to productivity. And for those of us who are particularly creative and spiritual, we actually mightn't always be so good at that or maintaining it. So it's around what to focus on, and that's where the prioritizing comes in, but also how to focus. These are skills we're actually not taught at school. You know, it doesn't necessarily come naturally for us. So, you know, a big thing I also talk about, as you've probably heard me say before, is not blaming ourselves. And so that's an example. If we weren't taught this stuff, you know, it's something you may have picked up, of course, in as you've, you know, gotten older, but not necessarily. And we have different tendencies with different personality and ways of viewing and thinking about the world. So there's freedom, focus, flexibility, which is around shaping time, is the way that I like to refer to it, rather than time management, and looking at how to set up a successful week in regards to what it is we do, why we do it, because that's just as important, how we do it and when we do it, and maybe who we do it with. And also flow is the fourth one. I'm a huge believer in the feminine aspects of flow. I talk a lot, as you probably heard me before, talk about yin and yang. I can talk about that to the day I die. I probably will. It makes so much sense intuitively and logically for me. And the flow in regards also of managing our energy, because there's certainly the thought that, and I definitely do agree with it, that it's about managing our energy, perhaps even more than managing our time. And also flow in regards to things like clutter. I'm certainly no expert in Feng Shui, but clutter can, I definitely believe, along with many others, that clutter can stop our flow. And it means then that because it takes away energy. And you know, I'll actually do another Facebook Live another time on this, that a little bit is actually, for us as creative spirituals, is actually okay, but it can get to a point where beyond that, it's not okay. When it stops our flow, when it gets to the point that stops our flow of our creativity, of the way that we use our intuition and other spiritual aspects of ourselves. So what I'll be doing in the group will be relating to those 4 areas. And I will be starting, and I'm going to announce it tonight, my first group coaching program or group mentoring program around the things that I've just talked about there. And really excited to be able to tell you more about that as time goes on. That'll be happening the middle of September, which is really, really exciting, and a long time happening in terms of working with one-on-one with clients, and now wanting to make it as a group offering. So thank you again, as I said, as I started off tonight, to say thank you for your energy, for your grace, and I really, as usual, welcome things that you would like us to be doing or focusing on in the group. Ways that we can grow it more, make it more interactive. Another thing that I'm going to be doing is, and this is with the support of Adair Palmer, who's one of the newer members of our group, is actually be starting Be Live TV in the group, as opposed to what they call the native Facebook Live. I am so looking forward to that, because I will be commencing a TV show, which Adair is involved in, as in using My Time TV, which is all very, very exciting. It's not, you know, Channel 9 or 10 or 7 or something in Australia, but it is an alternative to native Facebook Live videoing, which is really, really exciting. You can do so much more with it. So I really also want to be able to help grow you as members of the group. So again, any suggestions that you have, I've really, really, really enjoyed doing the interviews that I've been doing with members. We actually have another one next week and the week after, and we did the interview with Bonetta on Friday. So that is so exciting. It's a way that I hope that you can showcase about you as a person and about you as a business owner and your business, and can be then a resource that you can use in other areas in terms of promotion and that sort of thing. And it's a great way for us to get to know you as members. I'll be calling for more members to be interviewed. I actually really love interviewing. If you have any suggestions for different ways to do it, then please do let me know, and I will be using my creative intuition to come up with some ways as well. So I will leave it there. Thank you again. Really, as I said, really, really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to the next 200 and beyond. And I will say namaste, and looking forward to the actual change and unveiling of the group next week. Thank you so much. Mwah. Love to you all. Bye-bye.